our destination today. It's a peak in New Mexico.
Join us as we explore and discover this gem in the Sangre, Cristo Mountains. We're on Highway 150 headed east out of Taos, New Mexico. We're driving at around 9,000 feet. Our trailhead will start at about 10,100 feet.
Welcome to Hidden Gems of Nature. We're in the parking lot of our trailhead. I'll pan around so you can see it. We're in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in northern New Mexico. This is gorgeous. It smells of fresh, clean evergreen this morning. It's beautiful. Join us as we explore and discover all the gems on this trail in New Mexico.
The trailhead starts right here among the cabins and then heads up and through a ski resort. Even though you're hiking amongst the cabins, it's still a beautiful little trail until you get to the real trailhead.
This is where the trail really starts. You actually have to walk through a neighborhood, and as you walk through that neighborhood, you get up to this trailhead. It's less than a quarter mile. But I want to kind of pan around because right here where the trailhead does start, you can see behind me there is a gorgeous waterfall and cascade flowing down there. I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see it a little better. Great way to start the hike.
We move up and away from the creek pretty quickly, but we'll enjoy it as we start the first part of the hike.
We're following this stream up to about the halfway point, and we'll clear the spring and proceed further up to our destination. It's June 27th, so there's still a lot of moisture up here, and the monsoon rains actually just started a few days ago. So a lot of water on the trail. In fact, this morning the trail's even a little muddy.
I talked to a couple of the locals. They said the ski resort was built by a guy from Bavaria, so there's a heavy Bavarian influence all around the area. And of course you saw that influence as you crossed the bridge to start the hike.
We're just entering the wilderness area and heading up to our destination. We've just come to an area that somewhat flattens out. We'll only have a gradual climb here till we see our first gem. Kind of excited to see that gem. There's lots of gems along the trail already, but this will be a fun little gem to go visit as we head to our destination. This level area is kind of like the calm before the storm. After we hit this little flat or relatively low descent area or low ascent area, we climb straight up to our peak. So enjoy the flat prior to the climb. This is about the third or fourth landslide that we've walked through, or boulder field, whatever you want to call it. You can see it's still very cloudy this morning. Rained last night. We're not supposed to have any rain till 11, so I'm trying to summit and get down before any thunderstorms roll in. You can see this peak over here behind me. Beautiful peaks up here, real rugged. We're almost done with the flatter section of the trail. Although it's not that flat, it's relatively flat to everything else we've hiked on and everything that's before us. So join us as we continue looking at the gems along this trail to our destination. I'm standing next to this post. The trail actually splits here. If you go to my right, you will go up to our destination. If you go to my left, over here is a beautiful gem. We're going to hike over there first and then head up to our destination. This is one of the gems along our trail. It's a beautiful lake up here. We're at about 11,000 feet here at this lake. But if I pan behind me, you can see these tall peaks behind us. These are our destinations, so we're going to get up pretty high here pretty quick. We got about 2,000 feet more to climb before we get to our destination.
I talked to one of the locals who loves to hike this trail about once a week. He said there's no fish in the lake. He said it's fed by snowpack and they can't rely on the water levels, so some years they get winter kill, so they just haven't put fish in it for a long time. I'll pan over to the peaks that we're going to climb, although you can't see them. They're covered in clouds at this point, but it'll give you a feel for it. This is the peak that I showed you a little earlier. I had fully expected to have the clouds start clearing up a little bit, but instead it looks like they're getting a little bit more dense. So it looks like we're going to be in the clouds as we approach our peak today.
Pan around so you can see where we've been. Just came up through that canyon. Across those rock fields down to that lake and then up the side of the mountain. It's beautiful here.
A few deer tracks on the trail as we were hiking this morning and a little bit of sign to go with it. Unfortunately, the only animal we saw on the trip was this little vole. Had there been less clouds, we probably would have seen some larger game as well, but we'll take what we can get.
As you can see, we're up above the timberline now. We'll just be working our way through the tundra, out through the rock fields, and then cresting out. The trail's pretty rugged up here, but lots of flowers. Nice pretty flowers on both sides of the trail. Really beautiful hike.
I'll let you enjoy a few of the flowers that we saw along the hike today. Most all of these were up above the tree line in the last 1,000 foot elevation gain. Even though there's a lot of rock fields on this trail, the trail is pretty clear as you make your way through the rock fields, so it's not a bad trail at all. Gotta believe the views would be incredible up here with expansive as it is. Unfortunately, these clouds are kind of shrouding us in.
As you can see, we're shrouded in clouds now. We're hiking up in the clouds where I was hoping for some spectacular views. I don't know that we're going to get them now. We'll keep heading up to the top.
This last mile is straight up the face of the mountain. The higher we went up the face, the stronger the winds became. You can tell by how much these flowers are blowing. You can even see the clouds moving pretty quickly across the face. But below this face, there was almost no wind. This cairn marks the saddle between two peaks. The peak to the left is about 100 feet lower than the peak to the right. Of course, the peak to the right is the highest peak in New Mexico, and that's our destination today. Once you get here, you're only a couple of 100 yards away from the peaks. As we're hiking this section of the ridgeline to get to the peak, the wind was really howling. It was strong enough to blow us off balance. In this section of the trail, it didn't make a difference, but when we cleared this smooth section of the trail and got into the more jagged portion right before the peak, we had to slow down a little bit to make sure our footing was good. When I got to the peak, the wind was howling so bad I couldn't get a good audio, so I'll just do a little voiceover. Hopefully it makes sense. This is our destination today. It's the highest peak in New Mexico. These two guys behind me are hiking all the highest points in each of the 50 states of the United States. Evidently, most of the highest points you can drive to, so there wasn't a challenge or anything of interest associated with the highest point. They were certainly having a great time on the top of this peak.